Tēnā koutou no mai haere mai, and thank you so much for joining us for Inside Out's 10th birthday celebration. We are all so grateful that you're here, and tonight we will be leading you through the festivities.
What's up, Finn? How are we doing tonight? I don't think I felt that in my soul. I felt it in my body, but not my soul. Can I hear that again? Okay. Kia ora, tēnā tātou. What's up, Finn? I'm Ken. I think that's the bit that I'm at. Ke kona? Koina tātou? Kia ora, kia ora. Technical difficulties. I'm the difficulty. Kia ora.
Tēnā koutou, my name is Amber. I'll also be one of your MCs this evening.
And I am Kiefer.
As mentioned in our invitation, tonight has a theme inspired by a well-known tongi kura, which is a form of like whakatauki or a prophetic type of saying where somebody had this inspiring thought that they could, and they saw the future, and this is the kōrero that came from that. The kōrero is, ko tahia no te kōhau o te ngira e kuhuna ai te miro mā, te miro whiro, me te miro pango. There is but one eye of the needle through which the white, red and black threads must pass.
This tongikura, or prophetic saying, as Kim was saying, was made by Pōtātou Te Whirowhiro, First Māori King, in 1858 at his koroneihana. It speaks to unity amongst everyone and between tribes.
So the black thread represents the past and all of the people who have come before us and who have set the foundation for the present. The red is the present and specifically the chiefly lineage under all of this kaupapa. And the white represents the future and what is yet to come, and also eternal enlightenment.
Kia ora.
We felt that, kia ora. Can we hear another? Kia ora. Tēnā mai anō. So tonight we ask you, as you gather under this space, to reminisce on the past and celebrate those who have come before us and lay the foundations upon which we stand upon. We enjoy and celebrate tonight's party as a culmination of all the important rainbow people and Te Whanganui Atara, and that you look towards the future and what more can be done for the next generation. Nō reira e rangatira mā, we welcome you, we welcome you, we welcome you once more to this shared space of ours. And we give a big mihi to our hosts at, I know how to get here, 257 Design Office Space, for allowing us to use this area and to not only instill more modi and more spirit into these walls, but also to be supported by those that have come before us in this space that have allowed us to be here today. So, to begin, we will look at our humble beginnings of Inside Out and how it came to be. And who better to speak on this kaupapa other than their founder and director, Tabby. Tabby Besley, everybody!
I'll take this off so I can't see you. And I can bring my phone, it'll probably be easier. Thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa. I te taha o toku mama no Kotorana ahau. I te taha o toku papa no Ingarangi ahau. I whānau mai ahau e Ingarangi, e tupu aki au e Ingarangi me whakatu. Kei te noho au i te aiwa kairangi. Nō reira, e mihi ana ki ngā mana whenua o tēnei rohi. Ko te ati awa, ko Ngāti Toa Rangatira, ko Taranaki whānau. Kei te mihi, kei te mihi, kei te mihi, ko Tabby Besley toku ingoa. I am the black thread tonight. Thank you all so much for being here tonight to celebrate this occasion with us. It's just so wonderful to see. Oh dear. Okay, bear with me, it's going to be a wee bit of a long talk. And I'm going to try very hard not to cry any more than ever again. Yeah, it's amazing to see so many people that have contributed to the organisation in so many different ways tonight. As those in the organising committee have kind of borne witness to, I felt very daunted every time I thought about having to do the speech.
You got this.
Ooh, yes. Thank you. It's fine. I think that's just because there are just no words that could sum up like all of that history adequately. So it feels like a task that you could never perfect, but that's okay. Yeah, so while I've often been the public face of our organisation, InsideOUT Kōaro is the product of so many people over the years. So many that when we tried to put together an invite list, I got super overwhelmed because I was like, I'm never going to remember everyone. So many people ended up just putting on Facebook, hey, if I forgot you, if you want to come, please message me. And all of those people wouldn't even fit in a room like this, so thank you to the special ones today. But also let's keep in our minds all the people that couldn't be here, especially those all around the motu that couldn't make it. We are a much bigger team now than we were when we first started 10 years ago, six people sitting around the table. But the tale of our beginning started first with my own journey growing up as a queer young person. When I was 9 years old, I remember me and my best friend getting called Leslie's at our Anglican primary school in a small town in England. This was done as if it was a really terrible thing to be. In 2006, a year after moving to Aotearoa, I attended a school that was rife with homophobia and kind of small town. In 2007, I was really lucky to get to move to Nelson and attend what we know was the first school in Aotearoa, most likely the Asia Pacific region to have a rainbow diversity or queer straight alliance group. Having kind of come from environments where I'd kind of had to repress my sexuality due to the kind of the context, the homophobia. When my friend suggested going along to this group, I initially convinced myself that I was going along as an ally to support them. I can assure you that did not last for long. The group is now known as Nayland Pride and was then NAGS, Nayland Alliance of Gays and Straights, later changed to Queers. It was set up in 2003 between a gay student who was experiencing homophobic bullying at the school and a school counsellor who later, when she kind of saw that Inside Out started emailed me and let me know that she was an out lesbian at the school as well. And that was a really important part of the history for me to hear, and I think important to honour here as well, because that's kind of where this all came from. Having that group in my school provided me for that safe place to just kind of, be who I was, be proud of my queerness, but it also led to a lot of infuriation, just kind of learning about the inequities present for our communities, and it kind of fired me up to start fighting for change. I went on to become the leader of the group and became increasingly aware that our school and the space that we were creating was not like other schools. As one of you out young people in my community, had lots of people coming to confide in me, seek support. It's worked out, so just in a couple of weeks we'll finish my counselling and addictions degree. So it was really great that our school could be that place, and we did start to have young people moving to our school so that they could be more openly themselves. But that wasn't enough. Every school needs to be a safe place for rainbow rangatahi. So I went on to be involved alongside many others in helping the other schools around the Nelson Tasman region to set up these groups in their schools. And then we set up Q Youth, which is a community organisation. I think it's about 13 years old now, still going, that runs after school youth support groups, training their communities, a range of events and just incredible activities. Gone off my script. So was lucky to be one of the founding board members and later co-chair for Q Youth. And after I finished high school, they very thankfully for me employed me part-time, and got to start doing that youth work and started to hear from young people across the country who were having really, really tough times in their schools. A lot of it was things like school principals saying, no, you can't start a group, not allowing that space for young people to come together. There was a kind of sense of, okay, well, it's awesome we've got kind of all the support in Nelson now. People thought that was a bit weird. It's, bit of a conservative kind of place. Yeah, so it was sort of like, okay, what about the rest of the country? So one night I was sitting in my room with my friend Tommy from Wellington. He was part of a QSA up here, and we were preparing to run a workshop for one of our hui at Q Youth about QSAs and that kind of youth leadership. I vaguely recall our conversation saying I wish there was an organisation that would support and advocate for young people to lead, start and sustain those groups and make their schools safer. It was one of those ideas where you're kind of like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if someone did that? But I can't remember a lot about the conversation, but I really don't think I thought it was something I could or would go on to do. One day at work at Q's, I shared this idea with my colleague Seb, and he jumped on it with much more enthusiasm, or a lot of enthusiasm, and much more experience than me in the NGO world. He said, let's do it. This was in 2011, so technically we're kind of 11 years, but today is 10 years since we got our approval as a registered charity in Aotearoa, so that's why we're celebrating the 10 today. Seb took the lead initially and found some funding to go on an assembly tour of some rural schools in Aotearoa alongside Blake Skellerup, who was an Olympian gay speed skater from New Zealand, and they went and talked in these rural schools from Kaitaia to Invercargill about homophobic bullying. We had both planned to leave our roles at Youth and move to this beautiful city that we're in now the next year, but at the end of the year Seb decided to move to Melbourne instead. At the time that contributed to a lot of self-doubt and nervousness. How could I, at the time I was 19-year-old queer woman, start something like this and get people to take me seriously. Over the last 10 years through doing that, I've developed skills in so many areas where I often joke that most workplaces would have like 50 people to do the job I do, probably all with university degrees. Let's just say I don't think my teenage self who hated maths would ever have thought I know as much about accounting as I do now. But now I know that the way this has all happened was meant to be, and it's really contributed to our strong kind of by youth for youth approach. The big lesson I took from that experience was that if you've got an idea, something you're passionate about, even if you think it's wild, you have no idea how to do it, don't have the resources, share it, start talking about it. You just don't know what might happen. And if the first plan falls through, that doesn't mean it's the end. I really want to acknowledge, unfortunately they couldn't be here tonight, but Marnie Bruce Mitchell and Tommy Hamilton for their support in the first stages of our organisation's life. They were our first executive advisors on our board of trustees, so they're kind of over 27 folks. And at the time, Marnie was the executive director of Intersex Aotearoa Trust, and Tommy was the director of Rainbow Youth. So I just really wanted to acknowledge the mentorship of Marnie, Tommy, and also Elizabeth, Kevin, and Te Whanawhana. That's just been incredibly vital for me, especially in the early years of Inside Out, as a wee baby making mistakes. I had the privilege of meeting all those humans in my teens, kind of through national hui that would come together and started to build working relationships. I have really fond memories of Marnie taking me to the bank, hosting us in the office, staying up talking with Tommy till at least 2 a.m. as we did our final rounds. Was everyone safe and in bed at our shift hui? Getting emotional, like I just did, at the end of one of our hui, and Elizabeth telling me to stand in my mana. Kevin taking time out of his weekend to come and teach our roku waiata. I also wanted to acknowledge the late Kathleen Quinlivan, who I first met at high school when she was doing research on rainbow diversity groups. I was briefly part of a network called SS4Q, Safety in Schools for Queers. Kathleen, Marnie, Tommy and others were also involved in. That was a collaboration across organisations that advocated for safe schools for both rainbow young people and rainbow teachers. And it was agreed to kind of to wrap up the SS4Q at the time InsideOUT Kōaro started, kind of that those people were involved sort of acknowledging this time for more youth leadership in that space to kind of take the rako from there, and the hope that having the infrastructure of a charity would kind of help it more. But it's really important to me to acknowledge the advocacy work that was done 4 years before our organisation popping up, whether that is in the education space like SS4Q, but also things like the AIDS crisis, homosexual law reform, the kind of finding spaces for reclamation and decolonisation of kind of our history, like the long-standing hui takatapui space, or all the small communities and institutions that have been built around the country that have given queer people a sense of home. So to those who have mentored and supported me, I cannot thank you all enough. Particularly for the leadership you have and continue to demonstrate for our communities. Sometimes people remark about how I have kept at this mahi for so long. You are the people that come to mind when I think about that. I've been doing this for decades. Just hope for the rangatahi, like our future leaders, that I can give them just some of the same api that you have all given. So hard. Being led by young people has always been central for our kaupapa, so I also really wanted to acknowledge our first youth trustees, Griffin, Tommy and Joseph tonight, who all shared in this vision. I revisited some emails from around the time we were first starting recently and came across an email thread from the start of 2013 that contained 32 emails just trying to schedule a board meeting. Our current board will be horrified by this. Including Joseph actually saying that they would be in Nelson and their internet wouldn't be good enough to Skype in. So I kind of thought that as a little story in itself showed how much has just changed, the ways that we work. I also really wanted to acknowledge, there's so many people, but particularly Alex, Jaye, Neo, Kate, Compass, Maggie, Connor, and the many others who I first got to meet when you were all in high school yourselves, and have gone on to witness you become incredible leaders and advocates for our communities. Okay, try and get to the fun. A few memories come to mind as I reflect on the 10 years. Tried to not put too many in because this is already going to be too long. Of course, I kind of have to start with our shift hui. Give a little wave, yell if you've been part of shift hui. Yeah. We like to sort of refer it as InsideOUT's favourite project. And that's where we bring young people from around the country together to be on the marae for several days, taking part over the years in workshops ranging from kind of intersectionality in rainbow communities all the way to how to change a tyre. The talent show that pretty much goes through running in without fault, although when we did it online it was a lot faster. And how participants can articulate how much it was meant for them to just be in that space for those 3 days, how it was transformed them and given them hope for their futures, and for many of them the lives we get to see them kind of go on to lead as well. The year that I did not put a closing date on the registration form, we had 180 people turn up, aka complete chaos. After that we were like, okay, there's a limit. And in recent years, through the COVID pandemic, moving to have to hold that space online, but still learning how we can create such incredibly powerful connections, and that's still the same sense of whānau and community digitally. And so now we're looking at moving forward, hopefully doing one in person and one online each year, and it also helps create more accessibility for our communities too. Before we had staff based in every region, we would do outreach trips across the country, which were always a lot of fun. Like in Queenstown, where a group of us decided we should most definitely relocate our office to a boat on the lake. That one has not got past the board. I remember Emmett and I meeting with the Catholic Education Office in Otatahi and making them take a photo with us in the rain underneath their organisation sign, because it was such a big deal for us that we were, having that conversation, building that relationship with them. I just love meeting so many people all around the country who are doing their bit, I guess. So many people in schools and communities, like the school dean who makes scones for their QSA every week, known as Scone Squad. This family in Gore that welcomed Emmett and I into their family home to stay, having never met us, and were just so lovely and fed us. There's just countless of those examples and people, and I think that's also what contributes to change. Like we need that community, we need that person in Gore doing their bit to really have an impact. I remember one year having a bit of dread about taking part in a pride parade, but then seeing the faces of the young people that lined the streets to march with us, and just getting so many warm fuzzies, flags, and just seeing that pride in their faces and kind of recognising how much that meant to them. I've really enjoyed presenting workshops to all sorts of audiences, getting to speak everything from all of the chief executives of the public sector to a few months ago getting to speak in a church to an association of retirees in Upper Clutha. This was an interesting one. But in more recent years, my role has become much more about supporting our team to deliver the mahi on the ground. I don't get to do so much of the kind of fun stuff myself, but that in itself is also so special. Just last week, I got to sit on a Rangatahi advisory group meeting for our Healthy Relationships program that's in development. I just felt so grateful and proud to see the beautiful work that Dando and Johan were kind of doing to hold that space, let alone the incredible contributions of the participants. And that's a project that we're really excited to kind of implement in future. And a few of us discussed this, and we decided this had to make the speech a highlight a few months ago. Our team all got to delight in was the work of Edie, who's going to be our new operations and engagement lead, who mildly accidentally accepted a donation of 5 pallets of Lego, which is a lot, and we really want this to go down in the organisation's history. We've still got some, including Queer Eye Lego sets, if you want some. So, before I finish, I must give some more thanks to our current board and all those that have served it previously, many of you in the room. Thank you so much for your dedication to our kaupapa and the strange magic we have together that always seems to bring us to the end of a board meeting more energised than when we came in. To those that have chosen to invest in us, whether that has been $1 or more recently hundreds of thousands, thank you for seeing us and recognising the importance of the work that we're doing. Particularly to any earlier funders, thank you for taking a chance on us in a time where there were hardly any paid rainbow roles in the country, when most rainbow orgs were solely run on volunteers and most of them young people themselves. And for many years, volunteers at Inside Out were entirely kind of fundamental to what we were able to do, and those volunteers took on huge responsibilities. So I just want to say to all the volunteers that have supported our mahi across the years, thank you. To our staff and contractors, I am so proud to lead an organisation that has all of you in it. Really unexpected highlight of my time with Inside Out, especially these last few years, has been getting to employ so many queer people, often young people. In preparing for this event, I found some photos of post-its from a strategy we held back in 2015. We had a post-it with, or probably quite a few, with funding for paid staff and an office space on the wish list. So it's quite mind-blowing for me to look at how we've kind of gone from 0 people in paid roles to now, including a good chunk of them are contractors on 8 hours a week, but now it's over 40 people that are paid to support our mahi. People frequently compliment the amazing team that we have, and often amongst ourselves we joke about how we hire the best people, but that's really no joke. You're incredible and make such a difference to people's lives and the work that you do, and in particular I wanted to really acknowledge Alex, Neo, Emmett and Rosie, who have all been around in one way or another for at least half of this journey with us. Thank you so much for your passion. Ongoing commitment, not always easy in the NGO world. To the other rainbow organisations and community partners we work with, like Te Whanawhana and GMA in the room tonight, it's a privilege to work with you to make things better for our communities, and in recent years we've been really increasing the ways that we collaborate and support each other, and I'm so excited for what we can continue to do and achieve working together. Finally, there's still more to go after that, but finally, thanks to some of my best humans, Khan, Jess Gray, thank you for consistently being there for me. And can't see me, but thank you to my sibling, Dylan. For being on the queer journey with me all these years and always trying out with the best vegan tricks for us. Whether that is a hangover cake after shift or the incredible spread that they've done tonight for us as well. do not want to see my face right now. Almost there. The landscape has changed so dramatically since our organisation first began. We've seen really key legislation pass, marriage equality, very recently the conversion prohibition bill, the BDMR bill. We've seen the government slowly start to invest in some rank organisations, name us a lot more and consult with us on social policy. We've seen Aotearoa go from this kind of handful of schools engaged to the point where we're now working in over 360 schools nationwide, and over half of New Zealand secondary schools taking part in our Schools Pride Week campaign and running their own Pride Weeks. Many primary and intermediate schools contacting for us to support, where I remember a few years in a strategic conversation being like, there's just so much to do, we don't know if we can like support them too, we've got to kind of focus with it, you know, an ambulance to the cliff, which is the secondary schools, and that very quickly changed and we just support all schools, which has been incredible. We've gone from doing one-off trainings on a whiteboard, where we felt that we had to share our personal coming out stories to build compassion in our kind of audiences, to being the main provider nationwide for Rainbow Takatapui and MVP FAF Plus competency training in workplaces and organisations. We've seen hundreds of young people go through our Shift Away program and go back to stand stronger in who they are and to create change in their own communities. We've developed resources and videos that speak to more marginalised experiences in our communities and have been used to help educate others, both here in Aotearoa but also many times overseas. So I was asked to speak to the past, so I will let others speak more to the future, but I will end by sharing just a very small amount of my hopes. Moving forward, something that is really important for me and the rest of our organisation is to keep moving steadfast on strengthening our commitment to honouring Te Tiriti o Waitangi and our approach to supporting those in our communities facing multiple marginalisations. I really hope that we can lead forward through the challenges we face currently from anti-trans movements, and that we can bring the majority of Aotearoa with us in protecting our trans communities. I really hope that we can sustain funding and jobs for people so that nobody else coming to the org ever has to have a job description as expensive and ridiculous as mine has been. And we're changing that, which is good. I really want to live in a country where every rainbow young person knows that they are loved, that there is a future for them, where their human rights are upheld, and they are safe to be who they are. And I know that InsideOUT Kōaro will keep working towards this for years to come. I couldn't possibly imagine where we would be in another 10 years, where we are now, is beyond those kind of wildest dreams. We just hoped we might have an office and move out of my hallway. But I am very excited to be on the journey to find out. Thank you for bearing with me through this. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Tēnā tātou, kia ora nei rā, te mihachi ki a koe mo tō kōrero e te mārai kura, nā hui whakariki a te huarahi mā tātou katoa, ki raro I te tuanui o te whanau. Kia ora mai tātou, so we actually have a birthday cake here, where Tabby will be gifted with the honour of cutting it on behalf of InsideOUT staff and InsideOUT board. And I think just before we do the cutting, can everybody stand up and we all sing happy birthday together, Nera? Yeah, let's get some praise and some celebrations up in here. Happy birthday, dear InsideOUT. Happy birthday to you. Hooray! Here's to the many more birthdays to come, the many more people to meet, and the many more celebrations to have. I'd like to now introduce Brock Stobbs, Chairperson of the Board, and Aoife Moss, Youth Trustee of the Board, to come up here and have a few words. Kia ora.
Yeah. Good everyone. Thank you all for coming out here tonight. It's so amazing to see everyone here. I don't know if it's the caffeine or if I'm very nervous, but I can feel my body shaking. But Yeah, as Tabby said, we wouldn't be here without everyone in this room. It's been a long 10 years. I've been here for only 3 of them, but they really do fly by, and even in that short time we've seen so much growth and our community is becoming so much larger. However, I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the one person who has been through it all, who has led this organisation through these 10 years and has really just brought us to where we are today, and that is Tabby. We wouldn't be here without you. There are really no words that can thank you enough, and no gift that will compensate all the hours you've given to this organisation. Please don't overwork yourself. But we have a little token of appreciation. It is a portrait of you, and around it is a whakatauki that the board felt really represented your work. I don't have the translation of the back, but I have the English one. Those who lead give sight to those who follow. Those who follow give life to those who lead. And we thought that just really represented sort of what you do for this org, which is, you know, give life to all these young people and support them so much, and in turn they really, you know, give the energy back and make Inside Out what it is. And so we just want to thank you so much.
Next up, we'd like to invite Dr. Elizabeth Kerekere to come speak.
Kia ora everybody, you're very glorious in all the different ways that you identify and express yourself, but a special shout out to Tabby and the Power Films in the house. Now I've only got this job that sometimes things change quickly and I do have to run to the house as soon as I finish talking. And I wanted to do lots of reminiscing. We've known Tabby and members of who were NAGs, who went into Q Youth and into Inside Out. But whakapapa is so important, because it's not just about those relationships, boom, 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 it's all the relationships that go out. It's the people you bring along with you when you do what you do. And I always say, find some mates and go for it. You did that, you've got some more mates, and it has been a gift to be able to be part of this journey with this organisation. I remember going to a hui with Q Youth, and back in the first hui that you did, and I was in my 40s, and they called me a kaumatua. But what I realised at hui after hui after hui, that sometimes it was only me, Mani, and shout out to, oh my God, to, I'm looking right at you, and your name's just gone out of my head. I'm sorry. Annie. Actually, I don't know who you are. Sometimes we would be the only one there that was older than a teenager. And so I was like, oh, I get it. But that has been, I suppose, what's been important to me. I came from being a youth activist myself. Nothing like this existed when I was a young person. I got lots of crap because I was femme, and who did I think I was? People had lots of really craven suggestions of how I could be turned straight. And it was always something that when I went on to found the Te Whanawhana and worked so closely with Kevin and the work that we do, that from the beginning, because we bring those Māori values into everything we do, then it's about whānau, that we as elders are always wanting to be here for our young people. And regardless of the decisions, regardless of all the things you want to do, it's our job to stand there and support you. And never, you will know, anyone who's been around will say, young people are not the leaders of tomorrow, they are the leaders we need right now. This room is full of those leaders, and I'm so thankful for all of you. We say when a whānau is operating well, people of every generation have their place, they are valued, they're honoured, they're recognised, we all work together. And that's what I see that you do. You've made yourself part of our communities and connected in with so much of the work that we do. I could not do what I do in Parliament without all of you. And we don't know what's in this room and the ideas that you've had for a little while. Do them. Put it out into the universe. Whether it's your creation, whether it's something that you need people to help with, whether it's an incredible business idea that is going to need no rainbow group in this country needs to apply for funding again, let's do the thing. And whatever I can do to help with that, always you know that I'm here. I want to just finish on the thing about Modi. We say Modi is that life force. It's that thing that we are born with and it dies with us. Unlike Wairua, that exists beyond death. And Modi is the place where we can be seen, we can be recognised, we can be valued for who we are and everything we bring into the world. Inside Out has been that place. Shift has been that place for hundreds of young people, some of whom are still alive today because of Shift, because of Inside Out. For that reason alone, everyone who's been associated with this should be proud. It's my dream for all of you to grow old, to get your grey hairs, which you may colour in any which way you like, and to be someone who can be there and use your experience, your knowledge and your love for the young people that are going to come. 100 years from now, there's going to be a group of young people looking at the photos from this event and it will change their life. Continue being the change maker, and sometimes it's not the big dramatic things. Let us always remember that. It's been in your family and someone makes that joke and you go, you know what, not funny, don't do it again in front of me. So whatever it is we do in the world, and some of you know I talk about the whare whakatapu, this whare of health and well-being for all of us, based on the fact that our people accepted diverse sexuality and gender in this country before colonisation. Every single thing we do, we help rebuild that whare. We make this place, conceptual place, safer and more amazing for all of us, but actually we create a society that is safer and better for all of us. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, kia ora koutou.
Next, we have a panel of rangatahi who are going to talk about their mahi and how Inside Out has affected them and helped them. So Amber will be running this, and the young people's name. Alex, Neo, Jaye, and Kate, would you like to come to the stage? Big round of applause for them.
So, we're now wanting to shift our vision a little bit more towards the present. What is happening now in our community and with all our fantastic rainbow rangatahi here in Aotearoa. And we have some of them here. Some of them have been involved with the shift for a very long time. We had some of those names dropped in the first speech up here tonight. Would you all like to introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do?
Kia ora everyone. Ko Kate aho. I use they them pronouns. I was on the Inside Out Board of Trustees from late 2016 to early 2019. And since then, I guess, I've just done a lot of different community organising and kind of activist-y work here in Pōneke.
Yeah, Kate.
Kia ora tātou, ko Alex tōku ingoa. I use he, him pronouns, and I've been lucky enough to be part of Inside Out Kōaro for 8 years. Started off when I was in my last year of high school in 2014, I'm excited to share a bit more about how amazing and foundational this organisation has been. But I'm a researcher in sort of trans health and really keen to support trans health equity for trans communities in particular.
My name is Neo. I use he, him, ear pronouns. I have been involved in Inside Out since I think like 2016, 2015, when I was still in high school. Tabby helped me write a very strongly worded letter to my school, who were not letting us have a QSA. And then I started volunteering in 2017, and then they couldn't get rid of me. And I'm now a staff member, which is so much fun.
I'm really glad that I'm going last. Kia ora, ko Jaye tōku ingoa, he uri ahau ngāti apa ngāti hausi hoki. Hi, I'm Jaye. I use they, them, or he, him, or also pronouns. I was a youth trustee on the board of trustees between 2016 and 2020 maybe. Yeah, it was a hot second. And I was chairperson for 2.5 of those years maybe. And at the moment I'm kind of like lurking. I stepped off the board to pursue my master's degree in marine biology, which I'm handing in January. And after that, pursuing a PhD in chemical engineering, which I have absolutely no experience in whatsoever. Follow your dreams, kids.
Thank you all for joining us today and sharing a bit. We're going back down the line. We can go wherever. We would just like to know a little bit about how your experiences with Inside Out as a younger person has affected you now and affecting the work that you're doing. No particular order, whoever wants to speak first.
Awesome. I'm happy to start. So I was first, it was a really serendipitous connection to Inside Out. I think I replied to a Facebook post asking for models for the Day of Silence campaign. and then I think a little while later was on Breakfast TV with Tabby, like really early in the morning. So yeah, it was quite like a straight into it. But I've been involved with Inside Out in many different ways. I was on the board for 3 or 4 years and volunteering before then, and now am sort of a contractor working on resource development with the Ministry of Education, which is also an amazing relationship to have. And I think I like to think of Inside Out being, I guess it planted a seed back in 2014, and it's just grown as my life has grown. I've sort of it's been the tree, I guess, that all these opportunities have come up from, particularly I think through also like facilitating, for example, like just having that confidence to stand up in front of people and educate. I think that's really like sparked a passion in me in terms of like communicating our kaupapa and all the amazing knowledge that we all hold. And in terms of what I do now with research, like just having this really I think deep sense of understanding of who I am, so that personal growth going alongside my maybe more professional growth, I guess. I've had opportunities to present like in Dublin and in Brisbane and conferences with Tabby, and that's just been amazing to be like spreading those seeds, I guess, as well, and just like seeing, I guess, bearing the fruits and all those metaphors of trees. I just really like but that is that's how I see it, and it's just it continues to grow, right? It's in a way it's sort of there's so much more and so much potential, and I feel like I'm just gonna be you're gonna be stuck with me maybe for a little while longer in terms of what's next. Really, really, really grateful for Inside Out. A lot of shout out to Tabby.
As Alex was speaking, I was like, that tree metaphor is so good, I can't top that one. I feel like coming to Inside Out as a really young person myself and still exploring that, like my rainbowness, it's definitely like I've grown with it a lot. I've come to I've sort of grown a lot in my takatākoitanga and sort of my own personal identity. And then if you told 15-year-old me that I could get a job in this, like working at Inside Out, we like to joke that we're all professionally gay, and that's just a little bit wild that is something that I can do with my life, and that I can take those experiences that I had, the good and the bad, and help people in similar spots to me, and just to really take the experience that I've had and bring it forward and help other people with it, I think is a really big thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, like so many other people have said this evening, literally being part of Inside Out and seeing how it's progressed over the years has been really life-changing. I started straight on the board as a very fresh baby volunteer after the aforementioned extremely crazy shift hui in 2016. Like, I think that was my first volunteering experience with Inside Out, and then I dove straight onto being on the board of trustees, which is very classic. If people know me with the Capricorn dominated chart. So I really had no idea what I was in for, but it was a very it was good. It was good to be thrown in the deep end of like board stuff. Like Tabby said, in the very early days we were very struggled to organize a single meeting. And you know, I don't know what it looks like now, but we kind of implemented a lot of really good policies and things.
A lot more
boring
efficient.
stuff. Yeah, that no one really wants to think about. The glamorous stuff aside. And yeah, just besides the kind of skills that other people have spoken to in terms of doing heaps of public speaking and having amazing opportunities to speak to people overseas and meet other like-minded folks and develop my kind of personal confidence. Like Alex, I also figured out that I wanted to be an educator, and kind of delved into that a lot because of my experience with Inside Out. I teach tutor professionally now, and have for a few years. Literally being part of Inside Out helped me figure out that I have ADHD. Shout out to Megan Compass. We had a really great conversation after a little volunteer hangout where I was like, hey, you guys have ADHD, do I have ADHD? And they're like, yeah. I'm watching you after a 45-minute meeting, yes, you have ADHD. And even, yeah, so true. We're on the board together, so. Yeah, I mean, even though I'm kind of just lurking at the moment because life, happens and it's hard to give energy when you're stretched thin in other parts of it. I don't think I would be the person that I am today without my time Inside Out and meeting all of you lovely people and building the community. And I'm getting choked up now, I didn't expect that. I definitely am extremely grateful for everything this organisation has given me. I'm going to stop talking now.
Love you guys.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with what everyone else has said. Yeah, I think for me, it's a few different things. I think joining the board, like Jaye, it was such a shocking thing to step into this role where your opinions were taken very seriously, and people wanted to know what you thought and valued it and then would action it, and it was just kind of people think I'm responsible and I can make choices, and it was just not something I'd experienced from adults or seen peers kind of do consistently, and so it was just really validating and gave me a lot of affirmation at the time to be oh, maybe I kind of know things. That's cool. I think as well for me, the time that I was with Inside Out, those couple of years, I was going through a rough time, I think, as a lot of us do when we kind of 18 to early 20s. If you're not, dealing with your queer stuff, you're dealing with other stuff, and it can be quite intense. And I think for me, Inside Out was such a stabilizing force during that time, and was just one of the most consistent things during that period of my life that kind of actually helped keep me afloat in so many ways. So I think I feel very grateful in that aspect. And then finally, I think in terms of the mahi and learnings from working with Inside Out to what I do now is just around sustaining well-being in political movements, because I think just the seriousness that Inside Out takes in working with Barclay and working with volunteers and just people's well-being and safety and order and was just so groundbreaking and just kind of has influenced how I work in every kind of organizing space or kind of socially and within my own life, and just remembering that welfare becomes before the work, and it's not just about what we're doing or what the cause is, but it's how are the people feeling who are doing it, what do they need to succeed, and that's something that I carry all the time. Yeah.
Just smoothly move on before I start shedding tears. Last but not least, we would like to know if you have any messages to pass on to our future rangatahi, now that we're shifting that focus forwards to the future.
No pressure starting. I guess like, cause I was here for the 5th birthday as well, and I was just like reflecting a lot on like, again, like not all of y'all know me, but since I dropped a thread a little bit, I have had a very large glow up. And so I kind of like was I was like, I'd seen a photo of like the 5th birthday party, and I was very kind of like in a lot of very dark colours. And obviously I am living my best tropical bird life at the moment. I kind of, I guess, was a very, very different person, as I said earlier, when I started my work with InsideOUT. And even since kind of like stepping off the board and pursuing postgrad, and like I've had many, many, many life changes. I like, an example that I didn't foresee was that I was part of the crew alongside Alex who helped the folks at Vic get HRT services set up. And at the time I was like, no, me, I would never want to go on hormones. I just don't want to think about that. I'm in a relationship with a cishet man. And I started that process obviously a few months ago, and I just was like, oh yeah, I did that. And being at such a different stage of my life, even a few years later, where like I'm utilizing the things that I helped to set up, and like from outside of the big picture perspective, the personal perspective, seeing like, well, that has made such an impact for me and myself. Nepotism, that's the only reason you do anything is fear, apparently. But yeah, I guess like the takeaway from all that is that even when I was on the board with InsideOUT, I kind of felt very much like this pressure to be a complete and like finished person. But everybody's a work in progress, and I think that you're always a work in progress, and that's a good thing. And like the people that you meet along the way, and the awesome things that you get to be a part of, like where I know that this is really cheesy, but where you can, like being part of something bigger than yourself is always really special. And yeah, I guess just like be excited about the journey, and relish in your messy incompleteness. I don't know how to phrase it.
So many half-formed thoughts that I'm struggling to put into words, I think, thinking back to what, like 14-year-old me just starting to interact with InsideOUT, would love to hear from me now is like, you can make changes. You don't have to just look at the world and be passive and say, okay, this is what the world is, but instead you can actually do things and you can change it, and you have the power to make the world better. And I think I want to tell, any rangatahi starting to get into this space, or speaking to the younger person inside you that needs to hear it, is that you will find loved ones and family and friends who will accept you and love you, and you will find spaces to be safe and to be happy. And that you will become the you that you're meant to be.
Yeah, I'd like to, I guess, say to all the rangatahi out there that when people question or don't listen to young people, that really gets me going. And I just want to say, like, despite, if you're facing challenges in terms of people not believing who you are or questioning your identity, like, just, who you are, and you have that core inside of you, and like that could very well evolve and change, and that's amazing. And knowing that if you are, like, if that's something that you're coming up against in terms of not being believed or listened to, like that there are organisations or your chosen whānau or whoever it is outside there that, like, for example with InsideOUT, like having that consistency, you said, Kate, like knowing that they'll have my back. So if, where possible, if you have the resources or ability to get involved with community, find that. And I know it's really hard for some people who are particularly isolated, but just that holding on to that hope that you do know who you are, and that like just not listening to the noise of people who say otherwise, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the things that I was thinking about saying have been said, but I guess we can repeat them. Yeah, I think just kind of what you were saying, Jay, around like it being okay that like if you don't necessarily know like your full identity or where you kind of feel, like I think I also felt like a lot of the time that I needed to know exactly what my queerness was and what that meant and like what like who I wanted to be and like all the stuff that it like is still evolving now like many years later. And I think that just like knowing that you actually have so much time to actually go on that journey and you don't need to like lock it in and put it on Instagram and like let everyone know immediately, which is what I did, and it was not a good choice. Yeah, so just like give yourself that time, what that looks like for you, and then I think also as well what Alex was saying around like community, and like community is like everything, and like if that's just like you and one other friend at school, or like you and like a forum online, or like it's a QSA group, or it's a Kappa Haka group, or it's just like anywhere like you can find it and like build it and foster it, is like dive right in, like it will save your life. So yeah.
Thank you for doing that. I think InsideOUT is a beautiful testament to what a community can do.
Give it up for Aoife's poem, done by Beer's voice.
Okay. The best temporary home I've ever had. I have never felt so normal. I hid myself in my own bedroom, trained to feel watched, taught to be afraid. Do you know what it's like to never feel safe? My life has been me in one big empty ocean of cold, of alone. I've been lost in the waters of cis society so long. I almost convinced myself that I was part of it, but I have never been a good liar. Coming out was the most painful thing I've ever done, but it was the first time I ever felt warm. I'm not always sure I would do it again, but I would. I would for my ancestors who have been forgotten, who died with dead names on their gravestones. I would for everyone who comes after me, that their journey may be easier than mine. I've always had a home, but I've never had a home. What does that even mean, home? It means this. It means safe and warm. It means happy and loved. It means feeling your hands on my back wherever I go. Shift Hui is the first place that has ever felt like home, like safe, like love. Like everything was worth it all for this. This has been a great big burning raft in the middle of this big empty ocean. I will never stop being grateful. Grateful for the things I have learned, the stories you have shared, the legacy that lives on for us. I didn't think I would make it past 14, and now I see the future in your faces. He aha te menui o te ao. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. We are the people.
Mauri ora.
I think we can give some proper applause for that.
Ingani e noho ana ahau ki Tamaki Bukoura i nai anei. He me mapoere ahau ki Kōaro, Wairona Pepuere, he takatāpui ahau, he irarere ahau, Kōwhio. Hello, my dear friends. I descend from Ngāti Pakiao, Ngāti Mahuto, and Ngāti Ngāmiri Kaitawa, who in turn descend from the Te Aroa and Tainui waka, so all around the Rotorua, Waikato and Waiariki regions. I grew up in the mighty Te Tai Tokiro, but now I live in Tamaki Makaurau, and I've been a member of the board of InsideOUT since February this year. And for all of those whom I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, I'm Awhi. Yeah, so I had been seeing for a while on Instagram the advertising for a youth trustee for several months, and I kept seeing it, and I was like, I'm not like, I'm nowhere near qualified enough, like I've done nothing with my life, I'm just like a high school student. And then I kept seeing it and I was like, oh come on, if they're still looking, like I'll apply. The worst that can happen is they say no, because I, again, have done nothing. And then I got an interview and I was like, oh okay. And then I did the interview and they were like, oh, okay. And then I waited a couple months and they said, oh, we've decided to accept you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was thrown in the deep end a little bit. But yeah, my experience has been incredibly fun and rewarding, and I've met a ton of cool people that I know that I'll have in my life forever. So the theme of this event is past, present, future. Te Kōaro Te Mira. We've heard from Tabby, our critical founder and managing director, and via Elizabeth, our staunch advocate in Parliament, and our panel of rangatahi about Inside Out and Rainbow communities past and present in Aotearoa. But I'm here to talk about the future. I'm currently the youngest trustee and one of the newest. And yeah, I want a future in Aotearoa that little me would grow. I'm excited to see a future that I would want little me to grow up in. A future where queer young people can grow up in loving environments, can go to school, feel safe and comfortable with being themselves. Ultimately, we're all here with a common purpose, a collective kaupapa holding us together, the future of rangatahi o people, rainbow young people. Like many in our community, I grew up in a harsh and unaccepting environment, which delayed my coming to terms with my identity. I simply didn't have the language to describe the feelings that I knew were real. And once I finally did, it wasn't safe for me to be myself publicly. The rainbow community and the Inside Out whānau have welcomed me into the fold, and I've experienced such manaki and awhi from those who have been supporting me, because ultimately that's what community is about. Coming together to support and raise one another up. It's about whanaungatanga, manakitanga and awhitanga. Te Kōaro Te Mira, the eye of the needle, is taken from the whakatauaki spoken by Potato Te Whirowhiro at his crowning as the first Kini Māori. He said, Ko tahi te kōhao te nira, e kuhuna ai te miro mā, te miro pango, te miro whiro. There is but one eye of the needle through which the white, the black and the red all must pass. It speaks to kotahitanga, unity of ngā iwi Māori, just as it speaks now to the unity throughout our rainbow communities. We are all part of a greater community travelling through the eye of the needle, the challenges we face every day in our whānau, our wahimahi, our kura and our waira hapori. Yet we each make up individual threads that are vital to the strength of the whole cord. We each have a part to play, whether it is the pango, the past, the whiro, the present, or the mā, the future. No one is more important or vital to the kaupapa than anyone else. In fact, it was the son of Potato, Kingi Tāwhiao, that said, Ki te kotahi te kākaho ka whati, ki ka pēa e kore e whati. If a reed stands alone, it is vulnerable. If it is in a group, it is unbreakable. Much like how the harakeke threads are woven together to form incredibly strong bindings, we too must come together, each providing our unique gifts and talents to the kaupapa for the betterment of our collective future. However, it is important that we honour those who have paved the way for us, who have enabled us to stand where we do, and who guide our futures. I mihi to those who have come before me, and to those that will come after. To Tabby especially, the extent of your commitment to rainbow young people and the sheer amount of mahi you've put in to this kaupapa can never fully be appreciated. Rangatahi are our future, and I'm so proud of the mahi that we do to make growing up in Aotearoa safer for our rangatahi o Eniku. I mihi to all of our staff, volunteers, our managers, our schools coordinators, our national staff and my fellow board members. I mihi to those fighting for spaces and places where we have not historically been represented, like our rangatira Elizabeth Kerekere. I mihi to all those who cannot be here today, and all those we've lost. I mihi to all those yet to come. I'm excited to be part of the future of InsideOUT Kōaro and the wider rainbow community, and cannot wait to see what it brings. Ngā mihi me ngā manakitanga kia koutou katoa.
So some of you may have noticed when you first came in, we will forgive you if you didn't, because we forgot to say anything about it. There were some prompts for people who were invited to share their thoughts about their hopes and dreams for the future of Inside Out, rangatahi, etc. We will be keeping these for hopefully the next birthday party. So if you haven't written one now and you'd like to have that included, please write one on your way out. We would love to hear your thoughts, and it's lovely to see, and you get all sorts of warm fuzzies from it. However, we have picked some of the ones that have already been written to share with you now, to give you some ideas and to get you thinking about your hopes and dreams and what we want to all carry forth into the future.
Okay, some of the ones we found that we liked.
We liked all of them.
Okay. So, first off, wishes and hopes for the future, for the queer community, mahi that Inside Out can support or do themselves. First off, an organisation specifically for disabled rainbow rangatahi.
Better integration for rural rainbow humans.
I hope to have no job because it is no longer needed.
Mana motuhake.
Land back.
Kia manawa nui kia ngākau nui kia kaha te mahi me te oranga mō tātou katoa.
More settlement options for queer refugees.
Takatapui representation in kura and media.
Thank you. We would love if everyone could put their wishes on the board. These wishes are going to be kept until the next birthday, as Kiefer was saying. Hopefully many more birthdays to come. We want to keep adding and collecting until we've got just a horde of wishes to take us to the future as a rainbow organisation and a rainbow community.